There's a time for us to go.
Waffles, waffles, waffles. Party's over, you pieces of shit!
So here we are. The final season of Titans. It's been a long journey. I've reviewed all the previous seasons, made videos on them, and after everything that I've been through, I think I can say with absolute certainty that this show just really sucks. In fact, going a bit further, I would say that this is probably one of the worst, most poorly written, and outright nonsensical superhero stories that I've ever seen. It is no wonder that Warner Brothers is struggling right now if this is the kind of content they produce on a regular basis. Now, do I think Season 4 is the worst season of Titans? Season 3 was really bad, so it's kind of hard for me to say that this is way worse, but I do think it has all of the problems of the last season cranked up to 11. But that does make this difficult for me because I'm going to sound like a broken record reviewing this. If you've seen all my previous videos, just take all of those problems and there you go, you have Titans Season 4. All of my major complaints about the last seasons apply here, and there isn't really much deviation from that. There's only so many ways I could say this show sucks over and over and over again before I run out of things to say. And that means a lot coming from me, of all people. But just in case you want the Spark Notes version and don't want to have to sit through this entire video, the plot is utter nonsense from beginning to end. The characters are brain-dead idiots. Not to mention, a lot of them are so overpowered the story doesn't know how to handle them. Oh, and lest we forget, this show is edgy. Boy, is it edgy. It's got angst for days.
Angst, 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 angst.
It's not worth watching in any way, shape, or form, and you're better off not wasting your time with it like I did. You can't even pirate this show for free because the cost will be years off your lifespan. But I don't have a life down here, so I guess this is the part where I say hello everybody, you're watching Dead Topics, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want, for as long as we want. I'm your host Dave, and welcome to hell. Now, good lord, where do I start with this season? This one is one of the most convoluted, and has so many things going on, yet it feels like nothing is happening. One thing I can say about this show is that it is not predictable in the slightest. I had absolutely no idea what these writers were doing and could not see anything coming. Now, if that makes the series sound not boring, then let me correct that perception real quick. It is very boring and a slog to get through. In fact, it was such a slog, I had to watch every episode on 2x speed. Normally when I watch these things, I watch through once at normal speed and then rewatch it at 2x speed just to get some more details, but this time around I couldn't even watch it more than once. The idea of spending double the amount of time on Titans it's just heart-wrenching, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. And my note-taking on this season became more and more erratic and nonsensical as I lost all manner of care for the plot. Like, some of the things I typed down while watching this has me worried for my own sanity. But look at me, stalling so I don't have to talk about the story. No. Story is too generous. This is more like cinematic vomit. But anyway, the main plot of this story is very confusing because now it all revolves around magic. I know the first season was about magic and Trigon, so of course the writers made this season about magic and Trigon. Yes, Trigon is coming back. This, to me, shows that the writers had absolutely no idea what they were doing. They blew their chance with Trigon in the first season and now want to bring him back and act like it's dramatic. And the way they treat Trigon in this is just downright embarrassing. I know people joke about Trigon, but if you've ever wanted to see him at his most pathetic, it is this show. He is a total loser here. He got shafted, and then they later went on to fight Deathstroke immediately afterwards, and now the writers want to bring him back like he's some big threat? He really isn't. This is why starting with Trigon as your main villain in the first season is a bad idea. You want to start with weaker villains and then build up the threats over time. You know, basic escalation of power, a storytelling device so simple literal children can do it. Little Timmy playing with action figures is having more tension than anything in this story. Now, Trigon's followers have been working in the shadows ever since Season 1 and want to bring Big Daddy Trigon back because he worked out so well the last time. You know, the villain who got beat by a little girl.
Literally felled by a whelp. Yet you seem so adorably proud of yourself.
And who else is in on the cult schemes but Lex Luthor, rocking a really weird lumberjack beard. I don't know who okayed that decision, but I hope they were fired. Lex is working with this random lady who will be very important later, but not important enough for me to remember her damn name. I'm just gonna call her Witch, because she's a witch, and that's her whole personality. Now, while this is going down, the Titans visit Star Labs because Superman said he was going to show up and meet Superboy since Bruce called him. Yes, Bruce could have called Superman this whole time. Where Superman was while Dr. Light was about to destroy the city, or when Trigon was about to destroy the planet, or when 90% of these other catastrophes happened, well, he was deep in space. You see, since he's Superman, he can fly faster than the speed of light and fly around to different galaxies, which means that anytime a catastrophe on Earth happens, he has to conveniently be like 7 galaxies away. Do you think the Justice League ever gets fed up with that shit? Like, Earth gets attacked by a planet-busting demon and Superman's like, sorry, I'm in the Xenon galaxy dealing with, I don't even know at this point? That doesn't excuse where the rest of the Justice League is where this stuff is going down. Is the Flash just, like, conveniently asleep 24 hours a day? Or maybe they're avoiding all of the Titans on purpose because they don't want to be in this garbage tier show. Or maybe it's DC refusing to allow these characters to exist in proximity with each other again. It's anyone's guess at this point, but since Superman is a no-show, Lex Luthor decides to call Superboy because he wants to bring him in for a proposition. Superboy is curious about Lex, but isn't afraid of him like the other Titans are because, and I quote, he doesn't have any superpowers. This coming from Superboy is so funny to me. You know, the guy who spent the entire last season losing to people with no powers and no way to stop him. He also knows kryptonite exists since Nightwing over here used it to knock him unconscious one time. You know, Nightwing, the guy with no superpowers. Although actually no, because Nightwing in this universe is a superhuman, and there's no way you can convince me otherwise. With some of the stuff that he does in this season, he has to be a demigod. I am not joking when I say Nightwing is a Superman tier character in this show. Yes, he could rock up to Superman and punch him in the face and probably knock him out. No kryptonite, no gadgets, just raw hands. And if you're curious as to how, wait till the end of the show. Since Lex has invited Superboy over, the Titans decide the only reasonable course of action is to send Starfire in to beat up literally everybody inside. And while they're inside, Starfire has a little USB chip that has bug wings on it and flies into his computer's USB port, which is so goofy. It's so funny to me when the show tries to get you to take it seriously when it has stuff in it like this. Look, if you want to lean into the comic book wacky stuff, that's perfectly fine. I would rather that than all of this edge. Speaking of Edge, Lex Luthor knew the entire time that the Titans were spying on him, so he decides to send in a group of people to take the Titans down. Who does he send in?
Ninjas. It's Occam's Shuriken. When the answer is elusive, never rule out ninjas.
So a bunch of ninjas show up. That's so funny. I imagine they put that exact line in the script, too. Are these real ninjas, or did he just find a bunch of cosplayers on the street? Or did he go out and purchase some services from City Ninja?
You don't sound Japanese. Are you sure you're really ninjas?
Yeah, I ninja. Look at my fucking eyes. Come on, give me a check made out to a shitty ninja service.
So Nightwing starts fighting ninjas, typical Nightwing stuff, and Tim Drake actually joins in, the guy who has pretty much no training at this point, and he's holding his own against a literal trained ninja. I am getting Gotham Knights flashbacks here, with untrained characters suddenly fighting master martial artists and holding them back. So these ninjas are completely pathetic if Tim Drake, of all people, is managing to kick their ass when he has no training and literally a stick. But seeing a moment to be an absolute psychopath, Nightwing drops his sticks, picks up a katana, and then slices a guy through the chest. Literally, blood goes spurting everywhere as he falls to the ground in agony. So, that guy's dead. Yeah, Nightwing just murdered that guy, just killed him right then and there, execution style. He practically did everything but a Mortal Kombat finisher on the man and didn't call an ambulance afterwards, so yeah, Nightwing now has killed another person during this season.
Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way.
With the ninjas brutally murdered, the Titans managed to escape, and since they snuck that bug, which is a literal bug, inside of Lex's system, they now have all of his files. The other Titans also go off to, like, the Daily Planet archives and find out about Lex's criminal history and a bunch of stuff, but I don't know why this was necessary. The writers could have just had them find all the relevant information on Lex's servers, but I guess they needed this. Okay. It turns out that Lex is dying from kryptonite poisoning. And the Titans theorize that by giving him Superboy cells, he could somehow survive, which that doesn't make any sense. If he is dying from kryptonite poisoning and he got injected with Kryptonian DNA, wouldn't that make the kryptonite poisoning worse? But it turns out that Lex already tried that, and it didn't work, because, yeah, obviously that's stupid. What he really wants Superboy to do is take over as the head of LexCorp. Since he always dreamed of somebody merging Superman and a human together and becoming the next generation or something, which I swear I thought Lex Luthor's whole thing was that he didn't like Superman, like specifically, so I don't know why he would do that, but okay. But while Mr. Luthor is explaining all this, something quite tragic happens. And I'm not joking here, he vomits a giant snake and dies. Let me just repeat that. Lex Luthor, in the first episode of Titans, vomits a giant snake and then dies. Like, he's dead. That, I don't... What the fuck? Like, this is what I mean when I say this show isn't predictable. You can never know what the hell is about to happen next. Any character could vomit a snake at any moment. It happens more than once, and they fixate on it to a weird degree that makes me wonder if someone on the writing team had a very specific fetish. But seriously, how do you even come up with this nonsense? You know, I once heard of a writing trick of taking a particular scene and asking, what's the worst thing that could happen here? And having the characters go through a very serious trial to keep the story going. But for the Titans writers, I think they've adapted that trick. So instead, when they're looking at a scene, they ask, what's the dumbest thing that can happen here? And they do that every single time. So Lex isn't our main bad guy this season. Our actual main bad guy, the rug pull villain, is the Witch Lady. And if you think she's gonna get more interesting later, no. But while this is happening, we also get introduced to another character, Sebastian, who is, I think, a British game developer? At first, I was very curious as to why they were fixating on this random dude for so much, since they delayed the reveal of what's actually going on for an awkward amount of time, and it makes it feel like we're watching a different show every once in a while. I don't really have much to say on him right at this moment, so I guess we'll have to wait till he decides to be relevant. Also, yeah, this show jumps around a lot. It's really awkwardly paced and spaced out. It kind of feels like you're having a schizophrenia attack in the middle of the show, but whatever. So there's a ghost face killer now. He has the ghost face mask on, kind of. And he's got a knife. I'm sorry, I've just been watching a lot of Scream lately. So Mr. Stabby over here has been going around and killing people for the cult to start a blood ritual. And since he went slicing and dicing, the entire LexCorp inner circle has all perished except for like one guy, so the company essentially has no leadership anymore. So the entire LexCorp inner circle has died in one night, and Superboy was just kind of vaguely around Lex, so they pin everything on him and immediately arrest the guy. Something that's funny to me is that they have access to kryptonite, but don't use it while they're arresting him, only after they arrest him, even though they had ample time to go get it. Like, he was just kind of sitting there for a couple hours, and then they bring in a SWAT team, so they could have brought in the kryptonite handcuffs, but bring in normal handcuffs, so if he wanted to run away, he just could. The police finally arresting a member of the Titans is like a breath of fresh air, but it's not for murdering all those police officers or all the innocent people, no, it's because one rich guy died vaguely in his vicinity. Was this accidental political commentary? And I wonder if he's in the same prison as Luigi. After getting locked up, Superboy says the line, "You make one mistake and they treat you like the villain." This coming from the guy who made like 100 mistakes in the last season and was called the hero. I also love this asshole over here standing with a minigun in his prison, like he's gonna do anything if Superboy escapes. Oh yeah, that minigun is definitely gonna stop the guy who's bulletproof. Dick Grayson immediately wants Connor to break out of prison because, you know, Dick Grayson's no stranger to that. I'm actually kind of surprised they let Superboy just stay in jail. They have no problem breaking other members of the Titans out of prison, even when some of them deserve to stay in there. But Superboy was very obviously framed since, you know, the entire LexCorp inner circle died and he was just standing in one room. Maybe he used his super speed. But let's not kid ourselves, Superboy would not be that smart with his super speed in this show. The Titans find and kill bootleg Ghostface, or I guess he lights himself on fire or something. It's a little confusing, but after he dies, the government realizes, oh hey, I guess Superboy didn't do that. We should probably still keep him in prison on account of all the people he's killed, but let's just let him go. Also, side note, I think either in the last season or in between this season and the last one, Dick Grayson's secret identity got revealed, which would also technically reveal Batman's. He's just kind of walking around with the superheroes with no mask on, so does that mean Bruce Wayne came out as Batman? Oh, alright. Fair enough, since I guess Bruce isn't doing anything anymore. So with Ghostface dead, they think the mystery is solved, but plot twist, there's always two killers. The Witch Lady comes out in all her glory, and that is the most ridiculous haircut I've ever seen. Seriously, look at her. Can you look at her without laughing? I can't. This is our main villain? Girl, who put that hairstyle on you? Seriously, did no one on set crack up looking at this? No one? I refuse to believe not a single person who was looking at this during the production wasn't just busting a gut laughing at how dumb it looks. But what she lacks in style, and personality, and writing, she makes up for in power. Because she is a wizard, which of course means she's got laser beams for days, and can immediately one-shot Superboy, since Superboy is weak to magic. Well, not weak to magic, more just like not invulnerable to magic, but shut up. It's really funny seeing Superboy just get ragdolled and then Dick Grayson walk up with the sticks like he's about to do anything. Like, come on, man. Come on. Raven gets slurpeed and loses all of her powers, and they're taken into a gym. So the whole of the Titans is just getting trounced one after the other, but Starfire comes in with her blue powers. Using the power of blue, Starfire scares the villain off, and that is the end of episode 1. Okay, so we have to pause to talk about a few things here. One, the magic in this show. We'll get into more of that later down the line, but starting off, it is way too vague and way too powerful. We already knew Raven was busted and can do practically anything, but here, since the entire season is about magic, you would think they would explain some things more, but they really don't, and you're left with a lot more questions than answers. First and foremost is the snake thing. They're able to do a ritual that just puts a snake inside somebody, and they do that again later, and it gets more complicated, but for the most part it seems like they can just do that to whoever they want. Which raises the question of why they just don't do that to all the main characters. Well, the answer is plot, but still, there's no reason for them not to just instantly snake kill Nightwing at least. Second on the list is Starfire's blue powers. So it turns out this entire time, Starfire has only been using 8.1% of her true energy. And even with 8.1% of her power, she's able to destroy the strongest element on the entire planet. Seriously, this isn't even her final form. She's just using a minuscule fraction of her true abilities because she's Jesus, I guess. Starfire also turns out to be the chosen one, with it being prophesied that she will fight the main villain, and oh my god. They are just going all out with Stupid Fire being Jesus Christ incarnate. They have no manner of restrictions anymore. In fact, it's going to become a theme going forward, with all the Titans getting massive amps out of nowhere and becoming omni-powerful because they weren't that strong already. Seriously, Raven in the previous seasons was already so powerful they either had to write her out of the story or just have her be an idiot and not instantly end every single conflict. But now they're deciding to double down and amplify every character 10 billion times over. But Raven, this time around, has lost her powers, getting the short end of the stick. Because the main villain can just steal anyone's magic. Don't worry, she never does it again. Because they're dealing with a threat that's clearly far greater than them, Nightwing has a plan. He's going to call Superman, no. He's going to call the Flash, no. He's going to call Jinx. Yes, that Jinx. He decides to go to a prison to break Jinx out, of all people. This has got to be one of the most contrived excuses I've seen to bring a legacy character back in a while. I mean, Bruce probably had Zatanna on speed dial, but I guess we need Jinx, because who better Jinx is being held in a normal prison, and the guards seem to have no idea that she has superpowers, which makes absolutely no sense. The second she's outside, she makes a giant tornado and just escapes. So yes, this does officially mean the Titans are better at breaking supervillains out of prison than they are at actually putting villains in prison. Go team. But seriously, with the kind of stuff that we see Jinx do later, how the hell was this prison containing her, and why didn't the guards have any precautions whatsoever? They wanted her to have a cool escape scene, but didn't take 2 seconds to think about any of the logic behind it, and it causes this whole thing to feel like she just appeared out of thin air and didn't exist before this very moment. Also, this tornado thing, yeah, she never does it again. They never do it again should be the tagline for this magic system. So after Jinx makes her daring escape, which she could have done at literally any moment, Nightwing immediately knows where to find her and knows exactly where she's going. Yeah, 5 seconds later, he instantly guesses her exact plan and knows the exact place she's going to rob. Just 'cause. Nightwing is going to do that a lot this season, more than usual. He just happens to know literally everybody, and anytime there's a snag in the plot, he will call some random person up and have the instant solution to the problem. And it makes you wonder where all these people were during the previous seasons. There's tons of people that he just knows, which have magical knowledge or knowledge that would have been helpful when fighting Deathstroke, Scarecrow, or even Trigon in the first season, and he just didn't call any of those people before now. Regardless, they track down Jinx, and she's trying to steal a magical heart, which was made by Dark Elves. Yes, Dark Elves. I don't know what it is with these comic book properties and trying to shove Dark Elves into things, but it's always really stupid. But anyway, it turns out the Dark Elves have a magical heart, which if you look at it, turns you to stone. Starfire immediately gets transmuted into a statue, thank God, but unfortunately it doesn't last. Because Nightwing's gonna save her, and he has to team up with Jinx. Yay. I don't know what the weird fascination superhero media has with taking all the villains and making them into heroes or anti-heroes, but it's really gotta stop soon. Morbius, Kraven the Hunter, Black Adam, people just have to stop with this. Just make the villains, villains. So the Dark Elves apparently have magic powerful enough to turn Starfire into a statue. Just to be clear, Starfire is like a planet-destroying god-tier being, and she just got defeated by this spell. Makes you wonder why the witches who were fighting against them didn't also try to steal this, if it's that powerful and could end the Titans immediately. Jinx and Nightwing track these Dark Elves down to a Dark Elf club that exists apparently, and these people look absolutely nothing like an elf or dark at all. They look like normal humans. I guess the costume designers just got bored. Nightwing, with no suit and no weapons, beats up like all of them, even though they're supposed to have magic so powerful it can petrify people, and the only spell they use is throwing some knives. Really creative. So they get trounced. Man, these Dark Elves suck. And it turns out that Jinx actually betrayed Nightwing and was going to steal from the Dark Elves. Seriously, I cannot understate how stupid Nightwing is. This is the second time he's worked with a supervillain and then got immediately betrayed or they immediately escaped. If he was smart, had basic pattern recognition, and was acting as, you know, a superhero, he would beat up this villain and put them back in jail where they belong. And also put himself in a cell right next to her because, you know, it would be hypocritical otherwise. But no, he doesn't do that. Instead, he gives her $5 million. I'm not kidding. He drops $5 million on her and then adds her to the team. Yay, a new member of the Titans. Woohoo. Let's talk about Jinx for a second. Jinx is a walking plot device. If you thought Raven was bad in the previous seasons, Jinx is that, but way worse. Her powers allow her to do anything. Pretty much anything. She can shapeshift, freeze people in place, perform teleportation rituals, shoot lasers, create tornadoes. She's practically a god. The only real limitation to her powers is that her freezing people thing has a cooldown, but that's about it. She literally only exists as a plot device to allow the Titans to just get whatever they need in any situation related to magic. There is practically nothing this chick can't do, which is why it's even funnier she was being held in a normal prison with no safeguards against magic. So her entire existence in this story can be boiled down to replacement Raven. And go figure later on, the second Raven gets her powers back, they kill Jinx off. But we'll get to that later. So they find out that this Sebastian guy who just got framed for murder is actually the son of Trigon. Yes, there was another son of Trigon that they just didn't know about until now. And if he is transformed in the blood ritual, he'll be able to blow the magic horn and yada yada yada. I really don't care. This has to be the most by-the-numbers fantasy plot that I've ever heard in my entire life. Who directed this? So I looked into it, and it turns out one of the writers' name is Richard Hatem. Yes, their name is Richard Hatem. I could not imagine a more perfect name for a writer of Titans. And they also worked on Supernatural and a bunch of other supernatural-related shows, it looks like, which explains the direction the season went perfectly. But on top of there being a generic demon summoning ritual, it turns out that Starfire, once again, is the chosen one who's destined to stop it. She's having fever dreams again and sees the diner from season 2. Yeah, you know, that diner scene that was so confusing and really weird? Yeah, well, the writers thought it was so incredible they needed to remind you and go for round 2 in that diner. Yeah, I'm sure the fans were clamoring for that. Starfire talks to another Tamaranian lady, and it turns out there's a magic song which it describes her destiny. Oh, God. Did ChatGPT write this? Seriously, it feels like a bunch of random generic fantasy tropes shoved together. So just so we're clear, there is a random dude who was born into the cult and now is being used to summon a world-ending threat. And the Titans get in the way of this and try and take him away from the dark side and push him towards the light. Which, thinking about it now, is just a complete ripoff of an episode of Doom Patrol. Yeah, Doom Patrol, you know, the show they're crossing over with in this season. I guess it's not stealing if it's taking from yourself. But yeah, there's an episode of Doom Patrol that is about this exact thing. There's a kid who's born into a cult and he's going to bring about the end of the world and the superhero group has to stop him. They just took the plot of that one episode and extended it for 12. And I'm gonna say it, Doom Patrol did it way better. I don't think Doom Patrol is perfect by any means, but it's way more interesting than whatever this is. And it works better in Doom Patrol because Doom Patrol doesn't take itself too seriously and knows it's goofy and leans into that, and isn't some insane edgelord fantasy that you're supposed to take seriously. Titans shows off these goofy dark elves and takes it seriously and thinks that you expect this to be the most epic and cool thing ever, whereas if Doom Patrol did this, they would treat it as what it is, a complete joke. Anyway, where were we? Nightwing and Starfire are back, everything's fine, woohoo, and Jinx is a part of the group now. They save Sebastian and start trying to figure out everything that's happening with the cult. The cult lures them into a trap, which has to be one of the dumbest parts of this season. So the cult has the Titans on a silver platter. The witch chick has shown she can beat all of them up with little effort, and Starfire's blue powers are malfunctioning right now. So all she would have to do is just show up, kill all of them, take Sebastian, and there you go. But no, instead of just killing them outright in that way, she's going to try and kill them in a different way. By sending in a bunch of mindless zombies. Yeah, they can resurrect and make zombies now. Don't worry, they never do it again. Now, these zombies seem to have the strength of a regular human, so Superboy, with his super speed, should be easily able to run around and knock all of them out instantly, right? He doesn't, of course. You know he doesn't. I need to talk about his super speed for a bit, because I'm trying to understand the writer's mindset when it comes to it. They seem to treat super speed like Tracer's ability from Overwatch, where she can blink forward a few feet. Superboy will run up a few feet at super speed, get close to a person, and then start moving at normal speed again, for no reason. It's not like a burst ability that can only be used in small increments. We see that he can run long distances and view the entire world moving in slow motion, so there's no reason for him to just turn off his superpowers mid-fight. I wouldn't be so mad at this if this misunderstanding of how his powers work wasn't a major factor in the plot. Because after this pointless fight scene where Jinx just freezes everybody in the room, I don't know why she didn't do that right off the bat, but okay. Zombie Deathstroke shows up. Yes, Zombie Deathstroke. You know, the villain who Rose, a member of the Titans who called the Titans her family, murdered in cold blood? Yes, show. Remember how they killed Deathstroke? Yeah, they killed a supervillain. You guys remember that, right? Because you brought him back as a zombie. It's almost like the Titans kill people or something. So Zombie Deathstroke is just Deathstroke, so Superboy should be able to just run up and insta-knock him out, right? But no, because he runs up and then just kind of stops fighting him at super speed and then gets stabbed in the chest. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that dagger was magical, which is why it's able to do any damage to Superboy at all, unless they're saying that Deathstroke is the strength of a Kryptonian when he's a rotting corpse. But there's absolutely no way this should have happened outside of plot contrivance. And what makes it even worse is Nightwing goes up and starts fighting on par with him immediately afterwards, so I guess Nightwing is a superhuman, since he must have speed greater than the Man of Steel himself. Jinx tricks the main villain using the plot convenience spell, and the Titans all manage to escape with Sebastian. If you were just gonna kidnap Sebastian against his will anyway, why not just have the witch show up in person and beat up all the Titans? Well, it's too late now, because the Titans run to Star Labs, and they enter into a laboratory area which is stated to be unbreakable by both Superman and Constantine. I have no idea how the hell they made that, or why nobody else has defenses like that on the entire planet. That would be really useful for a lot of the super rich and super well-connected supervillains like Lex Luthor, you would think. But this impeccable feat of a combination of magic and technology that's beyond Superman and beyond Constantine can't detect when a magic snake is inside somebody's body. That's right, when Superboy got stabbed, he got a snake stuck at him. So you need to stab the person for that to work now? Was Lex Luthor stabbed before he talked to Superboy? How did he not notice that? Did each member of the LexCorp Inner Circle have to get stabbed before the snake thing could happen to them? It didn't look like they got stabbed, so how does this spell work? And if you have to stab them for it to work in the first place, why not just stab them in the heart and get it over with? Inconsistent magic aside, Superboy is now not only infected with a snake, but also being mind-controlled. Yes, the villains can mind control. They just take over Superboy's mind. Why don't they do this to the rest of the whatever. Oh, and if you're curious, they do this again later, but in very different ways, which are... we'll get to it. So there's a giant snake roaming around the base now that the group notices and tries to fight off. And while everyone's doing this, Beast Boy has a confession that he makes to Jinx. So, Beast Boy. Okay, Beast Boy in this season is... a lot. Right now, all you need to know is that he is a skinwalker. Yes, they call him a skinwalker. He's gone to a location called the Red, which is a real thing in the comics. It's this sort of multi-dimensional force that connects all life and all of creation. It's complicated. And his powers have been acting all weird, and he's trying to figure out what exactly is going on there. I'll talk about that more later, when it becomes relevant, because this story cannot stay on track with anything for more than, 5 seconds. I keep saying I'm going to talk about things later, but I'd rather talk about them never. Moving on, the group finds Superboy and finds out that he's evil, and Nightwing manages to backflip over his laser vision, which... okay. There goes Nightwing dodging light blasts again. Maybe he does have super speed. Jinx immediately freezes Superboy because Jinx is practically a god and there's nothing that can stop her. So it turns out that Superboy has the snake inside of his body, and surprise, Superboy inflation jump scare. Yes, the writers somehow managed to get Superboy inflation material put into an official DC property. That's almost impressive. What is it with DC and pumping out weirdly specific fetish content? It's starting to get really gross. So Superboy is close to dying of organ failure on account of, the giant snake. But the Titans have a plan that's so stupid, the plot just might let it work. Beast Boy is going to turn into a virus, and they're going to inject him into Superboy's nose. That is a sentence I never thought I would say, and I never want to say again. Beast Boy turning into a virus is really pushing it for me. I know they give the excuse that, viruses have DNA or RNA or whatever, but a virus is about the furthest from the line you could possibly get when turning into animals. Beast Boy's powers get a huge amplification in this season, going from only being able to turn into a tiger to being able to turn into practically anything, I guess. Could he turn himself into a Kryptonian? Into a Tamaranian? Well, that would be interesting, but instead of doing anything interesting with Beast Boy, they decide to have him turn into a virus. I'm just gonna skip past all of this and say it works, because this is really gross and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Oh yeah, there's a pocket dimension connected to a diner jukebox, by the way, that has a Tamaranian inside. Don't question it. Oh, and of course, the most important thing, Tim Drake is now in a gay relationship with another character. I know you've been asking for it for so long, and it's finally here. He has this relationship with some random dude from Star Labs. The other character is so boring that I practically forgot them up until now. They have almost no chemistry, and this relationship is just incredibly boring. There's nothing wrong with having a gay relationship, but if you're going to do that, can you at least make it interesting, compelling, anything? At the very least, it gives Tim something to do, because he's incredibly useless throughout this entire season. He might as well be a side character, not one of the main cast. Now, moving on to things that matter in the slightest for the plot, Superboy, after his experience with the Snake, is having a huge identity crisis. So he decides to shave himself bald with his laser vision and start acting like Lex Luthor. This whole evil Superboy arc is just frankly adorable. He is probably the least intimidating villain ever. First of all, that cue ball head up there is not doing him any favors, and I just can't take him seriously. I am not joking when I say the writers do a better job of making Superboy look like a villain when he's working with the heroes than they do with actually trying to make him a legitimate villain. When he's supposed to be acting heroic, he murders multiple police officers in broad daylight for no reason. And when he's acting like a villain, he makes some satellites do some things. Oh, the horror. This is something interesting that I've thought about for a while, but I feel like with a lot of really bad writers, they could turn all of their weaknesses into huge strengths if they actually tried. Like, the Titans writers make all of the heroes seem like villainous psychopaths, and they do it very well. The only problem is they aren't doing it on purpose, so it makes the story look really stupid. But if they actually took all that and made it into a real, legitimate villain using the same techniques, it would be one of the most compelling villains of all time. But that is the tragic curse of a Titans writer, to only succeed by mistake. So after Superboy goes baldy mode, he starts talking to the Titans, and they have one of the most annoying conversations I've ever heard in this show.
There's an old saying, Richard. He who doesn't learn from history is, what is it? Oh yeah, a fucking moron. If we'd killed him when we had the chance, we'd all be in the RV heading to Frisco right now.
Don't call it Frisco. We don't kill people, Connor.
We're not murderers.
Got it. Except for all the people you've murdered.
No way! No way!
This place?
That was different.
Hey, I'm not complaining. Shit happens. Sometimes people die. It's not always a bad thing.
We're not killing Sebastian.
Even Bruce figured it out eventually. Do you know how many people the Joker killed since Batman bashed his head in?
0.
0. I like that kind of math.
I hate to say it, but Superboy's kind of spitting here. The Titans are just murderers. They just are at this point. They've killed so many people. So the sheer gall that they have to say that they aren't it's beyond words. Do the writers genuinely just not remember any of the killings when they happen? Like, did they just black those parts out of their memory? I wish I could black this show out of my memory, so I envy them. Now that Superboy is baby Lex Luthor, he has a new plan to stop the cult. You see, in order for the cult to complete their blood ritual to transform Sebastian, what they need to do is have him get into a blood pool willingly during the blood moon. But if he uses all of LexCorp's satellites to shoot lasers at the moon, it'll dispel the illusion that the moon is red, and therefore, since there's technically no blood moon anymore, the ritual won't work. Which is admittedly kind of clever, using magic's own stupid rules against it. And since this plan is clever, and it does work, the Titans are completely against it. No, what they want to do instead is perform a teleportation ritual, since teleportation apparently didn't exist until now, but it was discovered by wizards 10,000 years ago. They could use that excuse for practically anything. Oh, we need to destroy this villain? Well, it was discovered by wizards 10,000 years ago. Oh, we need to end all life on the planet? Well, it was discovered by wizards 10,000 years ago. Oh, we need to avoid paying our taxes? Well, this was discovered by wizards 10,000 years ago. Also, there is teleportation technology in Star Labs that becomes a major plot point later in the season, just FYI. While the Titans are faffing around and doing nothing, Superboy manages to track down the villain's headquarters, rushes in with his super speed, and lasers her in the face. Which this strategy should have worked, but unfortunately excessive plot armor disagrees. Because not only did the villain make multiple illusions of herself, but she also instant-knocks out Superboy. Whatever strategy she used to do that, she just decides not to use on the rest of the Titans when they show up. So the Titans bust in, Beast Boy turns into a gorilla, and Raven turns into... White Raven? Okay, we're doing this now. And since Raven has powers again, Jinx is now useless, so the story decides to kill her right then and there. But don't worry, she's not permanently dead. What did you think, this was a story with consequences? Or stakes or something? In this show, death is only relevant depending on which way the wind's blowing at the current moment. Now, they're having this epic final battle, and it kind of feels like a finale, but we're only like 6 episodes in right now. I've never seen a story that feels so slow, yet so rushed. Sebastian attains his ultimate form and screams really loudly, but all the Titans manage to escape into like the pocket dimension, the red something something yada yada. Does it really matter? They could be using a technique using ancient reflexes discovered by wizards 10,000 years ago, and that would be just as suitable of an explanation. Hey, writers, I have something that was discovered by wizards 10,000 years ago. It was a mystical hand sign. Here you go. So next episode we find out they were actually in the Death Realm. Yeah, they got banished to the Death Realm, but Beast Boy saved them. Isn't sending someone to the Death Realm just killing them? That sounds like an excuse a Yu-Gi-Oh! Dub would use. I used my gun to send him to the Death Realm. But if you want to get out of the Death Realm, all you have to do is cross a bridge. It's not that hard, amateurs. So inside of the ritual room, Lex left a book which contains information, and he says that Dick Grayson is a master detective which can figure this out. Being really generous, Lex. Well, Nightwing's master detective strategy is to call up a random person which has totally existed this whole time and didn't spawn into the world 5 minutes ago. It's this really weird conspiracy theory lady who, like, sniffs Starfire. Why is this character here? I imagine this is kind of what the writers acted like on set anytime somebody asked questions about what was going on. So they find out from this crazy lady, who just knows everything, I guess, that Trigon needs to be summoned back by a horn blown by his son. Raven didn't need a horn to summon him in the last season, so I don't know why this horn is only coming up now. I guess it's a cheap way to extend the plot a little longer. But the horn is held by his most sacred followers in a hidden location, and finding it is going to be pretty hard, you would think.
Actually, it's going to be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Oh, really?
Because Tim Drake is on the case, and he's ready to solve the secret mystery of where the temple is. I talked about this in the previous season when they discovered Red Hood's location via chess tips. But this show has a bad habit of creating fake mysteries and acting like it's some sort of huge reveal when they're solved. They'll set something up and then 2 seconds later they'll figure everything out, and we're supposed to act like these characters are so brilliant. Someone will throw a bunch of paper with runic gibberish on the table, and Tim will suddenly go, "Ah, of course, the reverse Fibonacci conundrum cipher. I should have known the whole time." And then he'll write a bunch of stuff down, and suddenly the mystery's solved, and they move on within, like, the span of 3 minutes. Since I'm really petty, I actually timed this out. When the words are translated from the book, it takes Tim less than 13 seconds to come up with the idea that it's an alphanumeric cipher. 30-ish seconds later, they immediately find out the words that they need to use, and less than a minute after that, they manage to find the location of the horn down to its exact longitude and latitude. This is something that could span an entire mystery novel being solved within one scene that lasts less than 2 minutes. The audience has no goddamn idea what's going on since you're blazing past all this cipher nonsense at Mach 5 and not explaining anything. And we have no time to get invested in the mystery or try and figure anything out ourselves because the mystery is already over before we have a chance to do anything. This does not make your characters look smart, it makes them look like psychics. It's not compelling, it's not interesting, it's just an excuse to rush the plot while trying to force characterization, making Tim look really smart when in reality he probably doesn't even understand half the things that are coming out of his mouth. You can replace every other noun he uses with the word reflexes and it'll make just about as much sense. Again, I'll restate, I've never seen a plot that feels this rushed yet this slow at the same time. They have 12 episodes, some of those episodes being over 56 minutes long to figure out all this stuff, and still they feel the need to rush past all these mysteries at 10 billion miles per hour. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know why they need to stop the horn in the first place. If Trigon comes back, Raven can just instantly banish him again. Like, they never say she can't just do that again. What's stopping her? Trigon's a total loser. Regardless, they go to the area where the horn should be, but there's nothing there. Ooh, mysterious. Some of the Titans drive to investigate, and they get sucked into an invisible town. Yes, there's an entire civilization inside of this strange barrier that's trapped them inside, and the individuals inside are getting mind-controlled, and oh my god, they just ripped off the plot of WandaVision. Even in DC, I can't escape the MCU. So the Titans are trapped inside the Hex. What now? Tim Drake and his boyfriend are left outside, and can't seem to find the Titans anywhere. With nothing else to do, the writers decide now is the perfect time for a gay sex scene. Or the start of one. But no amount of gay sex will ever be as rough as this story's writing. So let's get back to that. Raven gets kidnapped immediately. Again.
Again with this?
It's like once a month with this chick. Seriously.
And Dick Grayson decides to go investigate the police station to figure out what's going on. Dick Grayson, alone with a bunch of cops. In the show Titans. Yeah, what do you think is gonna happen?
Fellas.
Yes, you just saw that. Dick Grayson, the one-man army. The master martial artist who can fight dozens of ninjas simultaneously, dodge bullets, dodge light beams, fight on par with people with literal super soldier serums inside them, and an entire group of dark elves using literal magic lost to 3 regular cops. Oh, but he didn't have his suit on. Yeah, big whoop. He didn't have his suit on when he beat up all those dark elves either, so I guess that just goes to show how lame these dark elves are. Just remember this scene every time Nightwing gets in a fight. Later on in this season, when he's going toe-to-toe with Superman-level characters and fighting them one-on-one, just remember he's the same guy who got beat by 3 regular cops. Seriously, these writers have the most messy power levels that I've ever seen in a show. Like, the characters will on one hand be god-tier fighters and on the other hand lose to regular humans with, like, barely any training. So the next episode is a psychological horror experience where the Titans are being slowly mind-controlled and having their memories wiped. They've been experimented on, and now this magical music, which is playing throughout the entire town, is going to take away their individuality. So they have to find Raven and escape before their minds get wiped, or else, the world might be free of their influence. Now, Dick Grayson has a technique which you learn from Batman to fight off mental interference, I guess, where you use really painful memories to jog your memory, and Starfire rejects this idea because, and I quote, "it works if you're a psychopath." Yes, Starfire, you're definitely not a psychopath who, murders people all the time and stabs people with forks. Tim Drake tries to help break them out by, messing with radio frequencies or something. It's really stupid. They also manage to track down Raven by following a bunch of ravens. And Nightwing enters this church to find a bunch of police officers ready and waiting to pounce on him. The music is weakening him, so since he lost to 3 police officers earlier and is now in an even more weakened state, he should obviously lose this encounter, right? Right? Play the clown music.
Look at Randy Orton slithering.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Now I know these are technically cult members, but the beats up cops counter is a tradition at this point. Also, they could have had the cult members be dressed up as regular civilians, but they specifically chose cops, and given this show's track record, I doubt that's a coincidence. Fast-tracking a bit, because Lord knows I want to, the Titans managed to escape the mind-control prison and free Raven. But oh no, Sebastian has the magic horn, and if he blows it, he's going to summon Trigon. What will we do? This is the part of the season I like to call the pointless meandering phase. It really feels like the writers were making stuff up as they went along and didn't exactly know what to do whenever Sebastian got the horn, so they just kind of start doing random plot threads and trying to extend the story to 12 episodes by any means possible. And one method they use to do that is with Beast Boy. Beast Boy has to have one of the most insane side plots that I've ever seen from this show, seasons 1 through 3 included. It feels like something that was tacked on very late into the show. I know they have minor references to it at the beginning, but you could honestly cut all of those out and it wouldn't really change much of anything. To give the proper framing for this, Beast Boy in the previous 3 seasons has kind of sucked. He's barely ever used his powers, and most of the time he can only turn into a tiger. So after 3 seasons of Beast Boy just being really lame, the writers finally decide to start giving him his powers. I touched on it a bit earlier, but he's finally able to turn into other animals at will now, such as turning into a gorilla, and while that's really cool, it's far too little, far too late. They have had 3 seasons to explore Beast Boy's power, but they wasted all of that time, and now I'm kind of over it. The gorilla fight scenes are cool and all, if not a little janky, but they would have been much cooler, several seasons ago. And he doesn't even get to unlock his full potential until over halfway through the season, meaning that even in the season where he finally gets his true potential and full powers, it still comes in the back half, and a lot of time is still wasted. Not to mention, he gets several new powers, which are convoluted, confusing, and just downright strange. As I said before, he's connected to this force called the Red, which is an extra-dimensional field, I guess, that connects all life in the entire multiverse. The keyword there being multiverse. Yes, we're going into multiverse territory now. Don't you just love multiverse stories? I'm sure other superhero media hasn't done that to death. And I'm sure it won't be used to shove in a bunch of cheap cameos. It's gonna be used to shove in a bunch of cheap cameos, isn't it? Once he entered the Red in that last encounter they had with the Witch Lady, he actually got teleported to Mount Kilimanjaro, where he meets up with this Beast Man. The Beast Man explains how the red works and all of the information about how it functions and yada yada yada. It's mostly gibberish, but I'm starting to realize this feels a lot like a scene in the game Fahrenheit, if you've ever played that.
Only you can find your way back through the red.
What exactly is the red?
It is a force that connects and pervades all animal life in this universe.
Chroma? What does that mean?
The force that created the universe. The origin of everything. It gives extraordinary powers to those who possess it.
The red is just sort of this vague concept that allows the characters to do anything from time travel to reality hopping. And in order to access this power, Beast Boy just needs to drink a potion. After drinking it, he goes on what I would call a drug trip if it weren't for the fact that everything in this season feels like a drug trip.
How long does it take to begin?
How long does it take to begin? How long is it gonna take to begin?
How long does it take to begin?
How long does it take to begin? How long does it take to begin? How long is it gonna take to begin?
What follows is probably one of the most confusing and overly convoluted side quests that exists, period. It involves time travel and fighting people who have already been defeated and a bunch of other stuff that just doesn't matter. I'm gonna skip past most of it if you don't mind, but if you actually care about what goes on during whatever this mess is, you're free to watch it yourself. But by the end of it, Beast Boy manages to master the red and turn the entire thing green just at will, because Beast Boy is Jesus now. Yeah, just this multiversal concept, this energy that connects all life in the entire universe, and he can just snap his fingers and control it. From one of the weakest characters in the show to a literal god. I don't even know if Goku could pull off an amp like that in one episode. We then get into the cameo montage, where he goes around the multiverse and starts seeing a bunch of characters from different DC shows and properties, such as CW Flash. I don't want to talk about CW Flash, that's like 10 billion more reviews. I'll let Madvocate handle it. What I do find really funny about this scene, while he's ping-ponging through all these universes and all these shows, it feels like DC going, hey, look at all these cool things we own, right? Look at all these cool shows. But now, looking back on it, most of these shows are cancelled. Titan Season 4 came out in 2022, and he goes to visit Stargirl, Stargirl from the show that got cancelled that very year. CW Flash, that show ended. He sees Shazam from the DCEU, the massive failure that is now getting replaced with an entirely different universe. What was supposed to be a monument to DC's success was actually a gallery of all of their failures. I think it just goes to show how much DC and Warner Bros. Have been screwing the pooch lately. From their video games getting shut down, to their shows getting cancelled, to their entire movie cinematic universes being vaporized. If James Gunn doesn't pull through and carry this team, we might be seeing them go away for a while. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, with the cameos finished, Beast Boy gets thrown into Doom Patrol. Which of course means Cyborg is finally here, which, shouldn't they know who Cyborg is since he's an established superhero with connections to Star Labs? At first I thought this was an alternate universe Doom Patrol, but Cliff recognizes Beast Boy, which means that Beast Boy exists here, so why would he not recognize Cyborg? So is this like an alternate universe with Beast Boy who was there and then left, and then what? Their mansion is also stuck outside of time and space itself, because, yeah. So while Beast Boy is off doing whatever you want to call this, Superboy has been busy. So Superboy has been with Sebastian, who also has the horn. Yeah, remember Sebastian and the horn? I feel like the show forgot for a moment there. And he wants to lure Sebastian in to work with him so he can kill Sebastian later so he doesn't summon Trigon. So he tricks Sebastian into turning against the cult and joining LexCorp to become a hit video game designer. So yes, we've put the plot on hold for the characters to make video games. Cool. Sebastian makes what has to be one of the fakest looking and lamest video games I've ever seen, and he also develops it in record time with no testing at all. But he uses his magic to sneak something into the code. The game actually sucks your soul out of your body. Yeah, that sounds like something a mobile game company would do. The Titans are aware of this and try hacking into the system, but Sebastian uses his magic to increase cybersecurity, so there's just a cybersecurity bulking spell now. Yeah, if you thought the magic made no sense before, Sebastian here can just wave his hands and things will just kind of happen. For all we know, he could snap his fingers and erase the entire planet, or turn people into bananas or something. But of course that insta-kill snake spell is nowhere to be seen. I guess there was only one giant snake, and once the Horcrux was beheaded, then Voldemort lost his powers. Speaking of people losing their powers, Raven and Nightwing perform a ritual to separate Raven from her brother Sebastian, and that causes him to lose his powers temporarily. Superboy also puts a backdoor in the system for the Titans to hack in and save the day. Hooray. I guess the cybersecurity spell couldn't stop that. What do you think Sebastian is, a miracle worker? He can't do everything. Also, Starfire gets trapped in another dimension with the Doom Patrol and they play tennis or something. It's not important. Moving on. So Sebastian gets his powers back by drinking blood, and then he starts going back and forth between wanting to work with the cult and not wanting to work with the cult, and back and forth, and it's so annoying. And Superboy realizes that stealing and killing isn't the Titans' way, so he decides to join up with the Titans again. And he brings Starfire to one of Lex's labs, where they have a magic orb which can absorb all of Starfire's powers. So they start filling it with the power of blue, but they only get 98% pure blue. Heisenberg would be disappointed. They could have gotten 99% pure if they didn't forget the aluminum.
Bet he forgets the aluminum. Guaranteed. Guaranteed he forgets. You forgot the aluminum.
Superboy runs off with the orb and confronts Sebastian, who has just killed the mother and summoned Trigon by blowing the horn. Oh no! Arising from the pool of blood, Trigon comes out, his full power unleashed. The demon who will consume the world. The final threat, and he's dead. He's dead. Alright, moving on. Sebastian eats Trigon's heart and absorbs Trigon's power, becoming a superhuman. It was stated previously that the full power of Trigon unleashed by this ritual would be greater than Superman himself, and later Sebastian goes on to break into that lab that Superman apparently couldn't bust into. This means that this character is not only Superman tier levels of strength, but beyond that, and also has all these insane magic powers that can basically do anything. Connor tries to blow him up with the blue, but it doesn't work. As a result, Connor gets folded and Sebastian leaves. But the Titans can't let that stand, so they have to track down Sebastian and finish him off for good. But Sebastian has a dastardly, evil scheme. He's going to break into Star Labs and find that teleporter that was there the whole time. By charging it with the power of 10,000 suns, no, I'm not joking, he's going to teleport the entire planet into Tamaran, essentially blowing both of them up at the same time. I don't know why he suddenly has this huge beef with Tamaran, but okay. Maybe it's because they're the universe's only known manufacturer of the blue powers. Blue, one of the strongest forces in all of existence. And to prove that, he mind controls Starfire. Yeah, he can mind control now, don't worry, he never does it again. Because Starfire just has 10,000 suns worth of energy inside her. So for all you power scalers out there, I would love to see you calc the amount of energy she can output. But while he's close to completing his evil scheme, the Titans show up, ready to throw down. And thus began the dumbest fight scene in all of human history. Because Dick Grayson, the normal human, the man who got beat up by 3 regular cops, runs up to this character who is stated to be stronger than Superman, who has 10 billion magical abilities that range from mind control to telepathy to 10 billion other powers. He rushes up to that guy and just starts punching him. He starts beating him up, starts jumping him, beating him down with his sticks and bare hands. He is going up against a guy who is comparable to Superman. Are you kidding me? But wait, it doesn't stop there, because Tim Drake jumps in on the action too. Tim Drake is fighting on par with the character who is stronger than the Man of Steel. I am not joking here. This has to be one of the dumbest examples of imbalanced power levels that I've seen in my entire life. Never before have I seen a show take normal humans with no powers, no kryptonite, no nothing, and have them just roll up on a Superman tier character. This guy can probably punch the planet out of its orbit and fly millions, billions of times faster than the speed of light. He can literally cross galaxies in seconds, most likely, and yet he is still able to get beat down by two regular humans, one of which just became a Titan like months ago. It is baffling how awful this writing is. Like, did these writers even read their own script? I'm not convinced they did. Do they know who these characters are? The Titans don't use some clever strategy to beat this character who's way stronger than them. They just start rolling up and punching them, the normal human characters. But eventually, Sebastian remembers, oh yeah, I have superpowers, and it looks like things are coming to an end. But Nightwing has one last trick up his sleeve.
You can't beat me!
No. But he can.
You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
So Superboy, the guy who got folded by magic earlier in this season and also easily beaten by Sebastian earlier, beats up Sebastian. Cool. But they can't kill Sebastian for good, so there's only one option left. Starfire has to use the full power of blue, 100% pure blue energy, to kill Sebastian once and for all. But in return, it'll kill her too. Does this mean Stupid Fire is finally gonna die? Okay, show. If you actually manage to pull it off and kill Stupid Fire for good, I might just give you an extra star. Let's see it. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh, there she goes. There she goes. Let's see it. Let's see it. Come on. Come on. Yep, she flies now. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh. Oh, is she gonna die? Is she gonna die? Come on. Come on. You're so close. You're so close. Yes! Yes! Oh my god, yes! Fucking finally! Yeah! Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's the most beautiful explosion in all of cinematic history. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Whoo! Yeah, yeah. No. Wait. Hey. Show. No, what? No, she's back. No. We were so close. Did you think there was going to be stakes, consequences, long-term detrimental effects? What kind of fucking show do you think you're watching, buddy? This is Titans. There are no consequences here. They can't kill Stupid Fire. She's a fan favorite. Fuck this show, for real. I'm not talking about the ending. It sucks. Also, all that stuff with Beast Boy and the Red, it never gets fully resolved, and they're not getting another season because the show's been canceled, so even in the season where Beast Boy gets his full potential unlocked, he still can't complete his story. It's pretty ironic. But with that, it's finally over. We're done with Titans. No more Titans seasons. No more stealing and killing is not the Titans way. No more, if you're gonna dove, I'm gonna hawk. No more Stupid Fire. No more dumb Grayson. Everything has finally come to an end. As my Patreon members are displayed illustriously on screen, you know for a fact that this has finally come to a close. And the Patreon members will no longer get Titans videos early, because they're going to get other videos early instead, because I'm not talking about Titans anymore. It's all over now. We can finally rest, and we can finally get back to our lives. Or can we? That's right, it's getting a movie. It never ends. You thought it would end, it wouldn't end. It never ends. 10 million sequels, 10 million Titans sequels. There will be infinite Titans movies. You can never escape. It never ends. No reviewer will be able to save you now. You will be forced to watch every second of every Teens Titans movie that ever gets released in live action. That is your fate. Also, it probably has nothing to do with the show at all, but like, whatever. Anyway, this has been Dave, and remember... There's a time for us to go.